Chapter 91. The attention of the colony's higher-ups. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 91. The attention of the colony's higher-ups. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The battle that had waged on last night as well as the spatial passage that was opened up for quite some time had resulted in the large increase of the corpse core. Qingyang City once again requested for reinforcements from the large colonies. Even the commanders of the garrison army and the wilderness rangers had been moved to the front lines. There were now at least 16 E.Tier aptitude users in the front lines. I've become old. Deng Yen sighed. Last night was a rare chance. How could he let the Emperor Knight escape? It really left Deng Yen in distraught. Humph. What a useless bunch of people. Lin Zheng exclaimed in a grim manner. The colonies were disunited. They were afraid of getting injured and their teamwork was lacking. It was the reason why their plan to surround the Emperor Knight had failed. Not only that, Lin Zheng was wounded. It was really enraging. Beep beep beep. There was a beep from the device. A map had been refreshed. Ha! Yang Sanhu turned his head and looked at the map with furrowed brows. Show me the same map from 3 hours ago. Yang Sanhu said. The operator immediately opened up the map from 3 hours ago. There were obviously more red blips compared to the one now. Especially in a certain area. There are 200 less F.Tier zombies. Did an army go in for the kill? Yang Sanhu asked in confusion. 200 zombies were not that many, but it was odd for 200 zombies to suddenly disappear from one place. Moreover, they were F.Tier zombies. There were also a bunch of G.Tier zombies in the surroundings. It would be difficult to suddenly barge into the Zimu Mountains. Get the drones to feed images from this area. Ordered Yang Sanhu. After that, the drone circled around and was able to pinpoint Qin Feng, who was still in combat. Behind the Dazi mountain, Qin Feng's verdant Emperor Saber was like the scythe of a grim reaper, harvesting the lives of his enemies. The third one. Die. As he slashed away with his saber, the third dark-robed skeleton had perished in Qin Feng's hands. Its consciousness melded into Qin Feng's body rapidly. His power was increasing by leaps and bounds. At this moment, Qin Feng could feel everything around him with great clarity. His consciousness had permeated hundreds of meters and he could see everything around him clearly. Not only that, the elemental core of the diamond star globe was revolving endlessly. The brilliant elemental particles within it started to vibrate before turning into a whole new form. A new combination that was previously unknown and could not be understood had turned into a whole new ability. Dark Beam. The new ability that Qin Feng had learnt was the same ability that the dark-robed entity had used against him. It was probably because the dark-robed entities had used this ability multiple times against him. His body and consciousness were able to recall this ability. However, the ability was not too helpful given his situation. Qin Feng was immune to the dark beam, but at the same time, the corpse core that were made up of zombies were also immune to it. Perhaps, can this ability be changed into a fire ability? As he thought about this, he started to recollect his consciousness. He was able to quite fortunately discover a fire version of this ability in the fire elemental core. This meant that Qin Feng now possessed another fire ability, the fire beam. As Qin Feng became excited of the prospect of testing it out, he sensed something from his consciousness. He unwittingly looked up and saw the unmanned drone flying above him. He frowned at the sight of the drone. His strong consciousness meant that he was able to discern that the unmanned drone was pointed at him. Not only that, the drone was taking only images of him even though it was circling the area. Did he cause a ruckus by killing too many enemies? Still, Qin Feng had no intention of hiding his kills. He was also recording his own kills that could be used to exchange for rewards. However, it was probably best for him not to reveal any abilities. Qin Feng ignored the drone and set forth once again in search of the dark-robed skeletons within the corpse core. Within the commanding car, Yang Sanhu and the others had turned their attention completely to Qin Feng. "It's him!" Han Jian called out unexpectedly. "You know this guy? Who is he? From which colony?" Yang Sanhu quickly asked. The ability that Qin Feng had demonstrated was really startling. Even an F-tier mercenary squad had to hunt in packs. They also had to be cautious while moving so that they would not be surrounded by the zombies. In a stark contrast, Qin Feng was strutting away as if he wanted the zombies to come for him. "He's from our Qingbei colony, but he should not be this powerful. With his capabilities, he should be at least an F-tier by now, but..." Han Jian was hesitant to continue. The rest of the people had actually turned their attention to him. "But what?" asked Yang Sanhu. Han Jian shrugged. He could not believe it himself. "This person is called Qin Feng. He's 16 years old this year. He has just been injected with the awakening serum recently. A fortnight ago he made some huge achievements in the plantations. Only 16. Yang Sanhu was shocked. Even Deng Nian's and Lin Zheng's hearts skipped a beat. Youth meant potential. It would be great if they could get someone like him under them. Of course there were disadvantages as well. Someone with his potential could become a threat. "You're saying that this person is called Qin Feng?" Lin Zheng furrowed his brows. He felt that the name sounded familiar. Deng Nian, too, was surprised. He had seen the student's name list this year, and of course he had special care toward the ability users. There were only 20 names on the list. As an E-tier ability user, Deng Nian had astounding consciousness. His memory was almost photographic. He recalled that there was really someone named Qin Feng in the new ability user class. Could it be a coincidence? Han Jian, who was now looking at the monitors, let out a sigh. That should be him. It really is him. Who knew that he would have so much growth in such a short period of time? Wang Cheng and I previously tried to recruit him into the garrison and the Tiger Flame troop, but he rejected us. Said he wanted to enroll in Qingbei University. Old Deng, is this true? Don't keep this a secret now. Deng Nian laughed at his words. Should be, he's a student in our ability user class. For a moment there, Deng Nian was proud. After all, such a high potential student was hard to come by. Moreover, he had rejected the other two commanders and enlisted himself in the university instead. That made him exceptionally delighted. What a great seedling! Deng Nian exclaimed. The more he saw, the more satisfied he became. On the other hand, Lin Zheng's expression was grim. There was viciousness in his eyes. He finally recalled who this Qin Feng was. A few days ago, Jiang Xiaoyang had mysteriously disappeared after pursuing a dark martial artist. Lin Zheng's Eagle Clubhouse was even investigated as a result. That made him suffer quite a huge loss. Was that dark martial artist not Qin Feng? Even the descriptions matched. Previously, I never would have guessed that this was the person who had killed Jiang Xiaoyang. Now that I see it, how could it be impossible? He's really got the capability of an F-tier. Engrossed in his thoughts, Lin Zheng could not wait to finish Qin Feng off. Chapter 92. Leaderboard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 92. Leaderboard Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. However, there were too many people there, and Qin Feng was gaining attention. To kill him now would obviously be impractical. Old man Deng Nian was now considered Qin Feng's ally. Lin Zheng had to put his thoughts on hold. Qin Feng did not realize that someone was plotting to murder him. He had been killing zombies until his hands were numb. A day's worth of work only turned up to be about 500 dead zombies. For the zombies' population that had multiplied by 2, his effort was only enough to slow them down. Unless the dark-robed Ripper was unable to open up the spatial passage again. But then again, that was only an unreasonable hope of the human beings. When evening came, the dark-robed entities once again stood on top of the mountain peak and opened up the spatial passage. Nobody knew what would happen when the rift was opened. Therefore, Qin Feng did not stay around to find out. Since there were more reinforcements coming into Chengyang City, the dark-robed Ripper was forced to close down the spatial passage after being encircled by the E-tier elites. The number of corpse core that was released was not that much. As night fell, Qin Feng no longer did anything that would attract the attention of others. He went back to base. They were tallying up the results of the battle in the middle of the newly established base. First place. Zhao Yu Xin, team, results. 1238 points, accumulated total. 5,189 second place. Ho Rui, team, results. 1134 points, accumulated total. 4811 third place. Gao Lingfeng, team, results. 1089 points, accumulated total. 4794th place. Interestingly enough, these Hall of Famers were the pride and joy of the universities. They were teams made up of young prodigies. Today we've earned more than 1,000 points in contribution. Yang Xiaofa gets 200 while the rest of the team members get 100. Any disputes? Asked Gao Lingfeng. Yang Xiaofa was the team's ancient warrior. His battle skill was only second to Gao Lingfeng. No one would disagree if he were to get more points. None. None. Senior, there's no need to give me points. I don't think I've contributed much. Li Yao Yao was a bit embarrassed. Why not? Your water-elemental healing ability was pretty useful, else I wouldn't be able to sustain such a long combat today. Yang interjected. Although Li Yao Yao was not the strongest among the Year 2 students, she specialized in healing abilities. That was why Gao Lingfeng decided to pull her in. That's right, do you want your senior to go back on his words? I didn't mean to, senior. Li Yao Yao was slightly abashed. She could not reject Gao. Later on, they exchanged some items with their battle points. Li Yao Yao exchanged her points for a water-elemental ability core that could not only absorb runes with machinery, but it could also be used to refresh her skills in critical moments. 100 points equal to 10,000 coins. Including the bonus division from the energy cores, Li Yao Yao had earned almost 300,000 coins. This made her overjoyed. At this moment, however, she saw Qin Feng in the crowd from a distance. Or more accurately, Bai Li was too distinctive. Even if she were to wear a brown-colored shade, people would still ogle at her to scale her beauty. Qin Feng slightly furrowed his brows and hurriedly led Xiao Bai through the crowd. I'm so hungry. Bai Li tugged on Qin Feng's arm and slumped frailly on him. All right, I'll give you some of those energy cores tomorrow. Qin Feng consoled her. Bai Li answered with reluctance. I don't want those, they're not delicious. Bai Li was behaving more like a human being now. She was not that picky when she was still a cub. I'll buy you a Beast King core later. Bai Li's eyes lit up. Qin Feng smiled in a spoiling manner. The two's intimate interaction made Li Yao Yao gloomy. Qin Feng. Li Yao Yao shouted. Qin Feng only noticed her then. He then looked at her surroundings and incidentally saw Gao Lingfeng as well. This young man was an F-tier as well. Looks like he was a prodigy. Senior. Qin Feng nodded in a polite and distant manner. No one could guess what Li Yao Yao was thinking from her expression. Somehow, she felt like giving Qin Feng a lesson so that he would not be so haughty. Qin Feng, let me introduce you to him, this is our Year 3 senior, our number 1 guy from Qingbei University, Senior Gao Lingfeng, said Li Yao Yao. Gao smiled coldly for a while before saying, "Don't say that, what number one guy, those are merely other people's words. Come on, you are the most powerful person in our school. You've always gotten the first place in any test, nothing is too difficult for you." Li Yao Yao said admiringly. Gao Lingfeng smiled lightly. He then looked at Qin Feng. "If you need any help, you can always look for me," said Gao Lingfeng. Qin Feng took a glance at Gao. He nodded. "Yes, senior." Gao Lingfeng was just being modest, and Qin Feng merely followed suit. He would never look for his help. At that moment, Gao Lingfeng set his sights upon Bai Li and asked curiously. "Is she a year one student from our school?" Seeing them mentioning her, Bai Li remembered Qin Feng's order last time and said in a natural manner, "I am Qin Feng's girlfriend, he is my boyfriend." Gao Lingfeng's warm and gentle demeanor turned stiff. Li Yaoyao's heart was filled with contempt. "Wow, you sure have a great relationship with your girlfriend, bringing her to battle ultra beasts like that." Gao was being slightly sarcastic. "It's alright." Qin Feng was not planning on wasting any more time. The sky had turned dark, more and more people were queuing up to assess their battle scores. "Seniors, I'll go get assessed first, please carry on." Qin Feng did not wait for a reply before heading to the assessment area. Somehow, Li Yaoyao and Gao Lingfeng lingered there. After handing in his recording, the assessment was completed in less than 1 minute. Beep. Beep. Assessment complete. Your current battle point is 5671 points. In the open battle this time around, 1 G.tier zombie would net 1 point, an F.tier would net 10 points. There were higher scores for beast soldiers and generals. It was completely normal for Qin Feng to earn 5,000 to 6,000 points a day. Instantly, Qin Feng became the number one person on the leaderboard. Leaderboard, first place. Qin Feng, individual, results. 5671 points, accumulated total. 5671, in the blink of an eye, the people who were watching the leaderboard called out in disbelief. Qin Feng, who is Qin Feng? An individual with 5,000 over battle points, how is that possible? His accumulated total is over 5,000 points, did he only come today? So many points in just one day. Is he some powerful guy from other regions? He must be at least an E.tier. The crowd was buzzing. Gao Lingfeng and Li Yaoyao naturally heard them all. Their expressions changed. They were both in disbelief. Qin Feng left the assessment area and was headed for the point exchange area. Li Yaoyao looked at Qin Feng in a puzzled manner as she called after him. "Qin Feng, how many battle points did you receive in the assessment just now?" Li Yaoyao was praying in her heart that it was not an individual effort, that the name just now was merely a coincidence. Chapter 93. Even the male idol gets crushed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 93. Even the male idol gets crushed. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Li Yaoyao could not believe it. No matter how strong Qin Feng was, it would be impossible for him to obtain 5,000 battle points. How many ghouls did you have to kill to get that? About 5,000 over. Qin Feng answered naturally. At this moment, Gao Lingfeng's expressions became dejected. "Junior, did you use any illegal means to cheat the system? You've just entered the university, you shouldn't do something like that to gain these trivial profits. You're doing a disservice to our Qingbei University." If it were others, Gao would have believed it. But who was Qin Feng? He was just a new year one student who brought his beautiful girlfriend out in the battle. It was impossible to get such a result. They were probably having a good time in places where there were no ultra beasts. There must be a mistake with the system. Qin Feng frowned for a moment. Everyone around them was looking at Qin Feng. They've also heard their conversations. They knew the person in the leaderboard was him. But Qin Feng's youthful face and his G.Tier badge made them doubtful. How could he have killed so many ultra beasts? After a brief moment, the crowd started pointing fingers at Qin Feng. Qin Feng frowned even more. It was the familiar situation during the rat infestation in the plantations as well. Some of them could not accept the facts. The impact was too shocking. But that's the point of Qin Feng. To give them a good shock. Before Qin Feng could explain himself, a commotion erupted among the crowds. The people started to make way as if an important guest had appeared. After the crowd had made way, Ding Yan and Han Jian walked in front. There were guards all around them who were controlling the guards to ensure nothing stands in their path. Ding Yan walked toward Qin Feng. Li Yaoyao and Gao Lingfeng had also noticed his presence. Principal. Principal. The two of them hurriedly greeted him. Qin Feng was contemplating whether to greet him as well since he was now a student of the university. But before he could speak, Ding Yan had revealed a gentle smile. He gave Qin Feng a pat on the back. Qin Feng, you've done well making a name for the university. Ding Yan was impressed with Qin Feng. Hearing this, a streak of lightning ran across Qin Feng's mind. He remembered the unmanned drone that was circling above. Maybe he had found out during then. Of course, slaying away like that, how could they not see it? Qin Feng did not try to hide. It's my duty. Haha, good. Ding Yan laughed crackingly. By now, Han Jian had also come forward. There were smiles in his expressions. Qin Feng, do you remember me? Of course Qin Feng would never forget him. General Han. Qin Feng nodded at him. He, with your accomplishments, you could become a lieutenant general. What are you doing in school? Join the reserve army. Once again, Han Jian attempted to recruit him. Old Han, how could you? Taking away my men in front of me. That still depends on Qin Feng's will. That was a huge temptation. Did you know what becoming a lieutenant general means? Within the whole of Qingbei colony, even Xue Xingfu, He Li, and Jiang Xiaoyang, who was an official with the Eagle Club, couldn't come close to his position. He would only be second to Han Jian. But Qin Feng had the strength to carry that role. He was no longer the helpless young man who had just been reborn. He was slowly turning back into the king of mercenaries of his past life. Only his true powers had yet to recover. However, the role wasn't attractive enough to Qin Feng. I still prefer to study properly, thank you for your good intentions. What a pity. Han Jian was disappointed once again. Still, he continued, we'll do it this way then, you're still young, perhaps the role might not be fitting for you. I'm sure you could at least be an honorary captain then. You'll have the authority, but there's no need for you to work. Just help out when the time comes, how about that? Qin Feng couldn't reject his offer. An honorary captain, to put it bluntly, was a non-job that came with all the benefits. With an identity like that, his status in the Qingbei colony would increase tremendously. He would no longer be just an ordinary student. Suddenly, Qin Feng could sense something. He raised his head and looked into the distance. He saw a shadow standing by the windows of a huge car. The figure had a strong presence. His face was a little grim, as if he was very unhappy. There was something very bureaucratic about him. Lin Zheng. The name immediately appeared within his mind. He was looking at him with irk. There was even killing intent in his eyes. Han Jian and Ding Yan had seen me in action today, surely Lin Zheng did as well. Maybe he's already suspecting me. It was just a thought. Since Lin Zheng was standing in Ding Yan's direction, Ding Yan thought that Qin Feng was looking at him and seeking his advice. Ding Yan felt proud and said smilingly. Qin Feng, with great power comes great responsibility. Please do not let General Han Jian's good intention go down the drain. Please, be the honorary captain. After hearing that, he turned his vision away from Lin Zhang as if he didn't even know he was there in the distance. He looked toward Han Jian. If you insist, then I shall not disobey you. Haha, good, good. Come, your captain's badge will be sent here soon, let's discuss this in another place. Qin Feng, Ding Yan, and Han Jian walked toward another car. They were obviously going to discuss it there. Outside the assessment area, only a watchful crowd remained. Looks like this Qin Feng is the real deal. He's too strong, scoring more than 5,000 points. He probably wasn't killing G-tiered ghouls. He's gotta be at least an F-tier to be an honorary captain. Looks like we shouldn't underestimate this Qin Feng. And now, Gao Lingfeng, who was doubtful about Qin Feng, had lost his gentle demeanor for the first time. His face was red, he was ashamed and angry. Li Yaoyao too had a mixed expression. She wanted to teach Qin Feng a lesson before this. Now, he had taken a great leap instead. She was no match for her. They were both embarrassed before they could shame Qin Feng. The two of them had now held a grudge against Qin Feng. After a short chat with Ding Yan and Han Jian, Qin Feng excused himself. They were busy people, after all. Qin Feng did not want Ding Yan to teach him about the abilities anyway. Light and darkness should have a distinct line. Qin Feng was uncomfortable even when standing near Ding Yan. After he had left, Qin Feng went back to the Battle Point exchange station to see if there was anything good. He exchanged for some items that could be useful in emergencies that weren't always on the market, such as a purple, rune tier gear that was made from beast general material and a military-spec firearm that had a harrowing firepower. Qin Feng took a glance. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Chakra pills. Chapter 94. All-Rounder F2. Tier. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 94. All-Rounder F2. Tier. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation ENV. Chakra pills were a vital supplement an ancient warrior needed to enhance his or her internal force. The pill consisted of various precious ingredients and could greatly boost the user's strength after consumption. The internal power would further heighten once its nutrients had been completely assimilated. Aside from aiding one's training, the pill could also be employed to restore vitality during a battle, though it was rather wasteful for the item to be used this way. That must be why Chakra pill appeared on the list. Normally, this item could only be found in Qingyang City. It was rare to see Chakra pill at Qingbei Colony since it could only be used by an ancient warrior of F. tier and higher. I would like to exchange for 50 Chakra pills. Qin Feng decisively used 5,000 points to redeem the pills. He did not use the remaining 600 points as the Chakra pills were more than enough for him to endure the coming days. Qin Feng then checked his communicator and found that he had 140 million yuan in his account. Among them, 50 million was from the black card that once belonged to Jiang Shaoyang, another 50 million was the money found in the spatial rune also originally owned by Jiang Shaoyang, thanks to Xue Xingfu, 10 million bounty reward, and 30 million was earned from hunting down the bat beasts a few days ago. Let's get you these too, Qin Feng said while pointing at the communicator. Bai Li had gotten a knack of using the communicator recently. They could check the new items posted online in real time after connecting to the Wanzhong auction house. Normal F. tier energy cores usually cost only tens of thousands. However, Bai Li only wanted cores from Beast Kings which would require a preposterous sum. Judging by the amount of effort they poured in to conquer the Emperor Knight this time, it was justifiable that the energy core of the Beast King rank was priced so high due to its rarity and enormous potential. F5. Tier King of Giants Core, price 53 million. F7. Tier Broodmother's Core, price 83.1 million. Sure. Thanks, dear. Bai Li thanked him happily. Qin Feng raised his eyebrow. A simple thank you would not cut it. Bai Li blinked as she did not understand what Qin Feng meant. Qin Feng was tempted to tease Bai Li more after meeting her pure and innocent eyes. His guilt was easily overcome by his rush of desire. "Kiss me." Qin Feng tapped his cheek with his finger. Bai Li immediately closed in. However, instead of kissing, it was more of a lick. The way a fox would express joy was no different from other canines. All right. Qin Feng stopped her and realized it was not a good idea to tease Bai Li after all. She often overdid it. Nevertheless, the grin on his face showed that he was pleased and enjoyed the exchange. After he received the package from Wanzhong, Qin Feng made his way back to the colony. There was laughter coming from beside his and Zhou Hao's cars. "Zhou Hao, get the barbecue wing cooked quickly. I am starving. You already had 5 and I haven't eaten anything. What kind of stomach do you have in such a small body?" "It is exactly because of my small body that I need to eat more so I can grow taller. You are 17 and way past puberty. Be done with false hopes. Screw you. I am going to finish everything here today and leave nothing for you." When Qin Feng walked over, he saw Lu Meng and Zhou Hao fighting over the chicken wings on top of a grill rack. "That smells heavenly." Qin Feng approached them. "Come help me now, you nut. We have a big eater over here." Qin Feng was surprised by how the two got along so well this quickly, but he asked nothing and promptly joined them. Bai Li was also attracted by the smell and crouched down. The food on top of the grill seemed to be more delicious than the energy core they had just purchased. These things were brought over by Zhou Hao. His car was larger and he had installed a small fridge in the boot. Other than that, there were also a lot of life necessities, including the grill rack. While they were eating, Qin Feng finally understood how the two came together. Zhou Hao and Lu Meng had formed a team after Li Yaoyao ditched the latter for Gao Linhan. Lu Meng was impressed by Zhou Hao on the first day. They had both killed 200 G-tier zombies combined. The number of points gathered was no less than when she teamed up with Li Yaoyao. Qin Feng was glad that Zhou Hao found himself a rich female partner. This way, his buddy would face less risk in the wild. The dinner lasted for an hour. Bai Li had also eaten a lot of chicken wings. She could have eaten 10 more kilos if they had not run out of meat. Yet, Bai Li was still satisfied with the delicious wings and she eased her hostility toward Zhou Hao a little. "I am not going to hunt tonight." It's no longer necessary for Qin Feng to go out in the night after he had exposed his true strength earlier. He might raise suspicion if he continued to battle. It's about time I focus on upgrading my power. Qin Feng closed his eyes and unleashed his consciousness. He indulged himself in the experience he had gained during the day. He killed 6 dark-robed entities in a row today. That had upgraded his consciousness by several tiers and it was now F1 tier. "Xiao Bai, take everything out and you may go rest," Qin Feng ordered. "Roger that." Bai Li emptied the spatial rune, and a large pile of red marbles immediately appeared and rolled all over the floor. These were the energy cores they had gathered during the day. Within them, there were a few rusty bones and 6 black color ability cores. Dark energy core that belongs to a beast general. Qin Feng had earned more than the points could provide today. These things in front of him were equally valuable though they could not be turned into money. Other ability users might need a machine to extract the rune but Qin Feng could conveniently skip that step. Absorb. 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 His consciousness evolved into the next tier after he swallowed the 6 ability cores. F2 tier consciousness achieved. Not only that but Qin Feng had also found new ways of rune arrangement among the cores that he had just absorbed. Since he owned the Hell Stone, his dark ability held 10 times greater potential than other users. At this rate, even the dark-robed entities would not be his match. After he was done with the cores, he opened his eyes and laid them on the strange bones. He knew just how resilient these bones were through the battle today. These were great stuff. Qin Feng remembered the broken arm he obtained before and activated his absorption ability once again to consume the bones. He was busy absorbing and evolving the whole night. All his attributes, including his consciousness, physical strength, internal force, and warrior tier had reached F2. Tier in just one night. Furthermore, his F2. Tier was definitely stronger than other equivalents by a few notches. Qin Feng exhaled slowly when the first light of dawn lit the sky. He had made a giant leap forward and was no longer the same man he was the day before. His power had grown significantly overnight. I wonder whether I can solo the Emperor Knight now. Qin Feng clenched his fist and was eager to try out. Chapter 95. Dark Robed Ripper. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 95. Dark Robed Ripper. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Qin Feng reckoned he should not be too full of himself when he recalled that the Emperor Knight was at F8. Tier. He reminded himself not to evaluate the current situation based on his past experience as an A. Tier warrior. Emperor Knights were a formidable foe that was still too difficult for him at his present state. Qin Feng loosened up a little after he thought it through. Getting stronger should be my priority now. He worked relentlessly the next few days to exterminate as many F. Tier zombies as possible. Nonetheless, the invasion did not show signs of slowing down. Qin Feng had indeed become stronger. He was currently as lethal as an E. Tier fighter. Both the number of zombies killed and his points increased exponentially as the days went by. On the other hand, the dark robed rippers seemed to have become equally desperate. The more zombies the humans killed, the more frequent the spatial rift appeared. The humans and the beasts were locked in a seesaw battle. In the past few days, not only the zombies but the human force had also suffered considerable loss. A handful of ability users had fallen in the hands of the enemy. Xingyang City was able to hold only because they had hauled in large reinforcements from other colonies. Besides, the authorities had covered up the number of actual casualties, thus not many knew that they had already lost close to 400 comrades. Qin Feng was aware of the actual situation. Hence, other than essential rest, he had been hunting non-stop up at Zimu Mountains. His point reward was a whopping 80,000 credits now, which far exceeded the rest of the troop. At the mountains, Qin Feng leisurely beheaded another fiery zombie in front of him. The core inside the zombie skull was an ability core. After Qin Feng had absorbed it, the core granted him a small number of fire runes. Unfortunately, even with the great numbers of runes, Qin Feng still found it difficult to enhance his consciousness. He could not do anything about it. Most of the dark-robed entities had been killed by him and he had run out of ingredients to power up his consciousness. Why didn't the Ripper let more dark-robed entities slip through? Qin Feng murmured. He actually understood why. Ability users that could manipulate runes were a rare breed. If it were uncommon among the human race, then it should also be the case for other species. The dark-robed entities were probably a rare and valuable asset in their world as well. Qin Feng chuckled and was suddenly alerted. A dark-robed entity had just appeared not very far ahead. Speaking of the devil. Qin Feng dashed up to the beast quickly. Bailey sensed the anomaly and cautioned her master. "Dear, be careful. It's a beast king." Bailey had learned about the human classification of beasts after mingling in the society for a while now. The dark-robed entity in front of them was not the common beast Qin Feng thought it was. Qin Feng was startled. The dark-robed Ripper. The moment he made out the enemy's identity, it was already dashing toward him. Rawr! The Ripper revealed its look. Different from the black skeleton and skull usually seen on common dark-robed entities, the Ripper's face was scarlet. It looked exactly like a skinless creature with its flesh exposed. There were no whites in its eyes, which made the creature both peculiar and hideous. He seemed to have found out that the culprit behind its underlings' massacre was the human in front of it. The beast raised its arm and rays of dark bands soon covered Qin Feng. Dark laser. Qin Feng knew exactly what those rays were. The other dark-robed entities had used the same trick on him before, but since he had absorbed the Hell Stone, Qin Feng was immune to all types of dark ability. However, Qin Feng decided it was best not to expose his ability with so many surveillance drones flying around. Unfortunately, the Ripper's dark ray traveled too fast and shrouded a huge area owing to the abundant dark elements surrounding them. It was simply not possible to evade them all. You are not the only one with a laser. Qin Feng reacted calmly and raised his fingers. However, the beam coming out from it was not the dark laser but a blazing spark. Fire beam. Qin Feng learned the skill immediately after he mastered the dark laser, since both skills were based on the same principle. To a certain extent, the fire beam was even more devastating than the dark ray. Unlike the debilitating effect of the dark laser, the fire beam features scorching heat and explosive impact. With such dense energy packed into a single beam, the fire element actually had a bigger advantage in a direct collision between the two. Pop. The fire beam met the dark laser straight on in mid-air. The two forces pushed against each other evenly. But slowly and steadily, Qin Feng's fire beam began to push back the dark laser. Go all the way. Qin Feng enhanced his consciousness and gathered more fire runes in the air. He finally amassed enough energy to completely overwhelm his opponent. Boom! The flame hit the Ripper's body and sent the beast flying. Qin Feng was baffled. Because of the attack, the dark-robed Ripper was no longer able to hide its presence. The communicator picked up the beast's signal and rang abruptly. Alert! Beast King has appeared. The detected creature is F3. Tier. It is 42 meters away from your current position. Be cautious and retreat immediately. Qin Feng's new communicator was able to analyze nearby creatures with better precision. The dark-robed Ripper is only an F3 tier. Then why are those E. Tier users still unable to defeat it? What a bunch of thrash. Qin Feng turned grim as he instantly comprehended the true reason behind it. Since the situation was largely under control now, E. Tier fighters only needed to fight once or twice per day and would be given a great reward. They certainly did not hope to see this end too quickly. This was because the longer the war dragged on, the more benefit they would be able to reap. As a result, those who put their lives on the line were not the E. Tiers but users from G. Tier and F. Tier. I will gladly take what you have let loose. Qin Feng marched on furiously. The Ripper was obviously a powerful ability user. Such a creature certainly had high consciousness. Qin Feng could not wait to reap the reward from killing it. The Ripper was greatly agitated by Qin Feng. To the beast, Qin Feng was just a measly fly that did not know his place. It pointed at Qin Feng furiously. A dark circular object promptly appeared at the tip of its finger and enlarged rapidly. Qin Feng sighed, stepped and evaded the attack agilely. The dark energy ball could pry away a human life force. It worked almost the same way as Qin Feng's skill, only that the Ripper had stronger consciousness and could release the attack at will from a further distance. Qin Feng moved extremely fast by triggering his inner force. He relayed most of the force to his leg, which enabled him to skip past the ball of death. At the same time, 5 fire beams exploded simultaneously. Boom! The dark-robed Ripper protected itself with a dark barrier and resisted Qin Feng's short-range attack. The two of them scaled up the assault as both sides refused to back down. It was hard for the drone not to notice the barrage of massive attacks executed in this battle. Inside the base, most of the E. Tier ability users received the live footage almost at the same time. What's the big fuss? It's the Ripper. Someone seems to be fighting it. I recognize him. It's Qin Feng. Why did he attack the Ripper? He is actually capable of exterminating an F-tier beast king. That's bad. We have to stop him now. Chapter 96. Shootout. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 96. Shootout. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Qin Feng believed that the soldiers were reserving their strength to seek for long-term gain. However, there was actually another catch in this pit of a mess. The authorities of Qingyang City had long planned to place a stabilizer at this location. In the future, this place would become a colony just like Qingbei. The important question that lingered in everyone's mind now was who would be deployed as the mayor in this colony. There was a lot of interest at stake here, as the one who would become the mayor would reap tremendous benefits. That was the actual reason why the troop was not acting in consensus. They were probing and guarding against each other. One day ago, the mayor of Qingyang City finally had enough of it and announced that the one with the most contribution in this war would be given the position. This somehow soothed the fierce rivalries between the opportunists. They knew well that the first to strike would easily become the center of gunpoint, so everyone was biding their time. Unexpectedly, the balance was broken after just one day by the hands of a G-tier ability user. Obviously, they could tell that Qin Feng was far greater than a G-tier. That gave them all the more reason to stop him from killing the Ripper. Qin Feng was not aware of the political infighting within the troop. His communicator rang continuously during the battle, but he was too occupied with the Ripper and paid little attention to it. It was Deng Nian on the other side of the communicator. He was worried sick. Qin Feng was his student and also a gifted genius that would become the pillar of his university in years to come. He would not allow any mishap to happen to such an important talent. Deng Nian was excited when he first saw Qin Feng challenging the Ripper alone. But when he thought about the promise made by Qingyang's mayor a day earlier, he knew Qin Feng might have poked the beehive. However, he could not warn Qin Feng in time since he did not answer his call. I am not going to let anything happen to you. Deng Nian took over the public announcer and yelled, Qin Feng, give up your pursuit. Leave the Ripper alone and get the hell out of there. There was one glaring problem in doing this, though. Now, everyone inside Zimu Mountain was aware of Qin Feng's presence. Qin Feng was well known in this region. Such an announcement would only raise more curiosity among the ability users around the vicinity. Qin Feng did not understand Deng Nian's intention when he heard the public call. This was when a red projectile came flying in from the camp's direction. Qin Feng's face immediately darkened. It was obvious that the missile was aiming at him. What the hell are they doing? The drone was still transmitting, so those in the base must have known that he was still nearby. How could they fire the missile while I am this close to the Ripper? Are they trying to bury us alive together? He recalled the warning from Deng Nian a moment ago and guessed that he must have gotten himself into an unknown affair. That only further aggravated him. How dare these guys stab me? He was furious and unsheathed the photon gun on his waist. He fired several quick shots and downed a few drones around him. The dark-robed Ripper transformed into a shadow and vanished into thin air the moment the missile landed. Xiao Bai, take cover. Qin Feng finally unleashed Bai Li since they were no longer under surveillance. Let's move. Bai Li instantly teleported while carrying Qin Feng with her. Boom. The projectile landed right where Qin Feng initially was at. The place soon exploded and caught fire. Qin Feng would definitely be reduced to dust if he had jumped off another second late. It was a rather powerful explosive missile. Just so happens that I know a thing or two about projectiles as well. Qin Feng smirked and expanded his consciousness. The conscious energy of an ability user far exceeded that of a gunner. Xiao Bai, get me the long-ranged launcher. The silver one. This. Bai Li handed over a silver launcher that looked more like a mechanical arm. Its metallic coating shone brightly under the sunlight. Qin Feng handled the launcher skillfully and set it up swiftly on his left shoulder. The whole process took less than 5 seconds. He then raised the bazooka and placed his right index finger on the giant trigger. Boom! An orange missile was fired out of the launcher after the loud bang. At the same time, an E-tier gunner at a mountain thousands of miles away was stupefied. The gunner could feel that he was being targeted, and the next moment, a missile aiming at him came abruptly into his vision. *T. This gunner was the one who had ambushed Qin Feng with the red projectile earlier on. He did not expect Qin Feng to locate him so quickly and immediately counter-attack. Boom! The E-tier gunner fired another shot intended to intercept Qin Feng's shot mid-air. Thousands of miles away, Qin Feng sneered. "Joke's on you. Turn." He controlled the missile with his consciousness to avoid the incoming red missile. It then continued to pierce toward the gunner's location. Bastard! The E-tier ability user rebuked out of panic. He fired another few rounds and finally stopped the missile before it reached him. Before he could catch his breath, he suddenly heard the hissing sounds of more missiles breaking through the air. He looked up and saw 3 orange missiles come through the mushroom cloud. His consciousness had failed to sense any of it. Consciousness blocking. The gunner murmured unwittingly and was engulfed by multiple explosions in the next moment. Ka-boom, Qin Feng grinned at the foot of the mother mountain. Get a taste of your own medicine. The counter-attack by Qin Feng was rather astonishing. There were 17 E-tier ability users at the scene. The fallen gunner was not the only one that had pulled the trigger, but he was indeed the fastest among them. The others were waiting to follow up to ensure the kill on the Ripper and Qin Feng, but were horrified to see that Qin Feng had returned the favor with even more powerful assaults. The sign of the dark-robed Ripper had also disappeared along with Qin Feng. The group could not sense Qin Feng's whereabouts but was instead target-locked by Qin Feng's consciousness. How scary is this guy? Since when did his consciousness become so powerful? Screw him. I thought that he was an ancient warrior. According to the data, Qin Feng was a student from the ability class of Qingbei University. Could it be that his ability had reached F-tier? Otherwise, how could he be this strong? The consciousness of a gunner was induced by using external help. Its power would never match that of an ability user who had developed it naturally. Even though Qin Feng's consciousness was only F-tier, he still outclassed every single E-tier gunner here. The gunners were pinned and dared not attack recklessly. We are out. Ancient warriors, you are up next. Be sure to stop Qin Feng at all cost. The ancient warriors had begun taking action before being asked to do so. They glided toward Zimu Mountains and were searching for Qin Feng frantically from the sky above the area. Chapter 97. Everyone's target. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 97. Everyone's target. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. However, they found nothing in sight. Not only Qin Feng but the dark-robed Ripper was also nowhere to be seen. Darn. How could we have lost 2 targets in an instance? We can't let Qin Feng escape. He is a student of Qingbei University. He is not to join the evaluation next month. His potential is beyond the chart. He is going to disrupt the power balance in Qingyang at this rate. My uncle is one of the strongest candidates to run for mayor next term. We can't afford to let him mature into our future threat. Damn you, Qin Feng. You should pay with blood for killing my underling. The members of the Search and Kill team might have a different purpose in mind, but they all had one common target: to put an end to Qin Feng's meteoric rise. Nevertheless, none of them could locate Qin Feng. They were not to be blamed. Most parts of the Zimu Mountains had now turned into bare lands. Rotting trees were consumed by dark runes and would soon turn into bewitched plants. This caused the Zimu Mountains to be stained by the black color of death. Both Qin Feng and the Ripper were dark ability users, so they could conceal themselves in the environment without being noticed. However, they could clearly sense each other. After all, they were almost equal in power, with Qin Feng perhaps slightly stronger overall since he was also an ancient warrior. Let's get this done quickly. With this thought in mind, Qin Feng pursued the Ripper with Bai Li on his side. The dark-robed Ripper could sense the imminent danger and dashed toward the peak hastily. At the mountain peak, the Emperor Knight was annoyed by the flies that had suddenly occupied the sky of his turf. Without its spear, the beast could no longer launch ranged attacks, and thus it could only wait for its prey to come down. The beast's attention was distracted by the search team, and it had also failed to realize the presence of the dark-robed Ripper in stealth mode. Gotcha. Qin Feng sneered and intercepted the Ripper with his well-built body. Bang! The dark-robed Ripper took the hit and was bounced into the air. It landed hard on the ground and continued to roll down the hill before it was stopped by a giant tree. Slash! Qin Feng quickly followed up with his verdant Emperor Saber. He did not expect that the Ripper's robe was also made of runes. It exploded into a dark mist as soon as the saber came into contact with it. Qin Feng felt like he had hit on a large pile of fluffy cotton instead of the Ripper's body. Growling, the dark-robed Ripper was infuriated and evoked all its power. Without being watched by drones, Qin Feng neither retreated nor evaded this time. Though his saber was unable to cut through the Ripper, Qin Feng still had plenty of tricks up his sleeves. Qin Feng retracted the saber and wrapped his hand around the robe. Absorb. The dark runes of the robe disappeared into his palm under the effect of his innate ability. With the mist protecting the Ripper gone, Qin Feng finally managed to grab its body. Asteroid assimilation. This secret art not only could devour the enemy's inner power, but it also exerted 10 times the force in return. The impact created by the two opposing forces was especially suffocating. It was the Ripper's arm that Qin Feng was gripping at the moment. Poof! The arm exploded under the grinding force. There was no blood but only flesh that burst into pieces along with the black robe. Break! Qin Feng heaved and forcefully tore the remaining arm apart from the Ripper's body. The noisy battle did not go unnoticed. The ancient warriors on gliders finally discovered Qin Feng's whereabouts and began to descend. Not only that, but the Emperor Knight had also sensed its demised comrade. Roar! The Emperor Knight was enraged. Its Umbra stallion dashed through the air and entered the battle zone almost at the same time as the ancient warrior's arrival. Stop the knight! Lu Ba from Dongling Colony bellowed, yet he himself jumped on the dark-robed Ripper. Nobody cared about the Emperor Knight right now. They were all here to take advantage of the dying Ripper. Bunch of hooligans. Qin Feng triggered his inner force once again. Asteroid assimilation. Instantly, a vortex of energy appeared around Qin Feng. What the hell is this? None of the ancient warriors had experienced the power of asteroid assimilation before. They panicked and were horrified to find that their inner power was disappearing rapidly as if it were being sucked out by an external force. Nonetheless, these were E-tiers with massive battle experience. They knew that this vortex was either Qin Feng or the Ripper's doing. There was one simple way to escape the vortex, which was to back off until the edge of the affected area. The E-tier aptitude users were indeed powerful enough to escape the strange whirlpool easily. Too late. Qin Feng leered. He had foreseen the attack of the Emperor Knight. Since no one was slowing down the knight, it charged in with its shield and knocked an ancient warrior out of its way. The ancient warrior spilled blood, but luckily it was not too serious. Even so, he had lost the ability and stamina to compete with others now. Unfortunately, a ghastly figure suddenly appeared behind him. "My dear sir, why did you gang up and attack me just now?" Qin Feng asked rhetorically. The face of the fallen warrior paled rapidly. Before he could defend himself, Qin Feng had laid his hand on the warrior's dantian. Asteroid assimilation. His rich inner power was devoured by Qin Feng. If the internal force of an F-tier ancient warrior was described as thin mist, then that of the E-tier ancient warrior was as thick as a sea of clouds. Qin Feng digested the sea of clouds swiftly inside his own dantian and turned them into 10 patches of energy mists. These, of course, were still not as dense as Qin Feng's original energy mass. Regardless, it was better than not. This could greatly amplify his training speed. What have you done to me? The E-tier ancient warrior was devastated after he realized that his dantian had been emptied and could no longer generate any internal strength. My respected senior, I only require your explanation. But since you are heavily injured, I will let it slide for now and we shall get to it when we are back in the base. Qin Feng said righteously and turned to the others. Those who had besieged him before were now being pursued by the Emperor Knight. Qin Feng's skill earlier on had critically derailed them. Yet, some of them were able to remain unharmed, such as Lin Zheng and Han Jian. Huh, good job, Qin Feng. Han Jian laughed hysterically. He was here to stop the others but figured that he was not needed after all. While Lin Zheng had restrained himself from making a move in front of Han Jian, he was not shameless to the point where he would publicly kill a comrade from the same colony. We have to kill the Emperor Knight together or none of us are going to get out alive. Lu Ba growled and charged in first. Others knew that what he said was true. If they were to still refuse to work together now, then the whole team might be annihilated. Hence, everyone cooperated and brought out their best attack. These individuals were actually capable fighters but they were overwhelmed by the Emperor Knight before because each of them were fighting for their own lowly intentions. Why had they given up on the dark-robed Ripper? Because the beast had once again blended into the dark surroundings and the ancient warriors had lost trace of it once more. Chapter 98. The Emperor Knight dies. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 98. The Emperor Knight dies. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, hee. The dark-robed Ripper let out a blood-thirsty cackle that echoed through the darkness. At the same time, a powerful beam of dark ray burst forth. All 7 of the ancient warriors present were helplessly caught within the dark ray's area of impact. Of course, Qin Feng was not one of them. Of the 7 ancient warriors, one already had his internal strength sucked away by Qin Feng. The distance between Han Jian and Lin Zheng was too large for them to make it in time. This meant that the lives of the remaining 4 warriors were now hanging onto a thread that could snap at any moment. In mere moments, the Emperor Knight had regained the upper hand. God damn it! Kill that Ripper thing already. I can't detect it. Why don't you kill it yourself? Where's Qin Feng? Isn't he able to detect it? As the seconds went by, these people realized how dire the situation had now become, and they wanted Qin Feng to take the reins. Qin Feng's cynical laugh reverberated in the darkness. He was no fool. Why would he attack? However, no slack was given as the dark-robed Ripper suddenly reappeared. This time, it materialized right beside the body of the person whose internal energy was drained by Qin Feng. It went straight for the person's neck, sinking its teeth deep into where the jugular vein was. Affa. The person let out a blood-curdling wail that was accompanied by the grotesque sound of bubbling as blood slowly oozed out from his windpipe. Somebody, save me! Save me! It was a shame that no one dared to save him. Nobody could. Among the 8 people present, they were divided into 5 separate classes but nobody belonged to the same class as the victim. Even if there was someone with the same level of skill as him present, just like how both Qin Feng and Lin Zheng hailed from Qingbei Colony, should crap hit the fan for one person, it could be guaranteed that the other would never step in to lend a hand. Thus, that man's calls for help were in vain, he was as good as dead. In the blink of an eye, that person turned into a dried-up human pulp as the Ripper sucked him dry. Where the wrist of the dark-robed Ripper was exposed, one could observe a rapid regeneration of bone, blood and muscle. Die. Lin Zheng seized the opportunity and attempted to finish off the dark-robed Ripper. His body showed no signs of weakness even after being hit by the dark ray. Of all the ancient warriors present, the one with the strongest combat capability was now him. Qin Feng, too, suddenly broke out and attacked. The dark-robed Ripper was not an entity that could be slain so easily by mere mortals. If not for Qin Feng's immunity to dark abilities, the outcome would have been much more different. As the two powers clashed, a white-hot glow started expanding, encapsulating the surroundings. The lone Emperor Knight was facing an enemy with numerical superiority. While his abilities granted him extreme powers, in a death struggle against E-tier aptitude users, he could only hold out for so long. Roar! The Emperor Knight roared furiously. While busily fending off the unrelenting attacks from his two enemies, the shield he was gripping in his hands was sent flying out at great speed. The sharp end of the shield mercilessly lodged itself near dead center on the chest of one of the ancient warriors. Crack! The sound of his ribcage shattering was audible to all that stood nearby. Poof! The unfortunate ancient warrior retreated a distance away before he collapsed and vomited out a mouthful of dark red blood. His entire chest cavity caved in from the impact, and not long after, his eyes lost the luster it once had. His final thought was one of regret. Why was he so keen on grabbing this job that he had to pay for with his life? Qin Feng, who was hiding in the dark, reappeared by the deceased warrior's side. Gulp. His large, muscular frame exuded raw strength. Like an unstoppable tidal wave, the warrior was taken into Qin Feng's dantian, where a massive reservoir of internal strength was contained. Yet another dozen or so clouds of mist were integrated into his dantian. Xiao Bai, tuck away that shield. In the darkness, Bai Li, who never once revealed herself, activated her spatial manipulation, and in the next instant, the shield was nowhere to be seen. The Emperor Knight had now lost yet another weapon. This time, he found the pesky thief he was looking for. After all, Qin Feng was the only that appeared right beside the body that was struck by his shield. Roar! The Emperor Knight bellowed once more as he dug his heels into the side of his spirit horse, beckoning it to charge toward Qin Feng. Without a moment of hesitation, Qin Feng started running. The four people who were fighting against the Emperor Knight recognized an opportunity when they saw one. Not wanting to let this chance slip away, they too started giving chase. However, they could never match the speed of the Emperor Knight's seasoned warhorse. Qin Feng's speed, on the other hand, was vastly different. Fire beam. The most crucial moment had arrived as Qin Feng made his stand. His fire beam, contrasted with the darkness of the night sky, looked like fireworks from afar. One could easily get lost in its beauty. However, looks could and do kill. Moments after the beam was shot off by Qin Feng, a massive hole appeared right at the center of the Emperor Knight's torso. Boom! This time, the Emperor Knight was sent flying off the back of his warhorse. Everything that Bai Li knew was directly from Qin Feng's lessons, mostly by the use of simple analogies. The Emperor Knight's spear as well as his shield were now stored away safely in her private space. The only thing left now was the lone warhorse standing idle on the battlefield without its master. Bai Li's eyes lit up as one would at the sight of a delicious meal awaiting. Streaks of spatial passages appeared in the air which swallowed up the warhorse whole, leaving no trace behind. The Emperor Knight had now become a general without his army, a paper tiger. Refusing to let this chance escape, Qin Feng walked over with large, confident strides. Die! Qin Feng raised his arm and took aim. The hand cannon in his grip was now humming with a low frequency, indicating that it was primed for firing. Bang! A shell burst out of the barrel, spinning toward its target. Lu Ba and the rest who were giving chase arrived at the scene, their eyes widened as if they were about to spew out insults. However, they did not have time to spare for such unnecessary acts. Everyone dropped onto the ground, laying down to avoid being caught up in the explosion. The ground where the Emperor Knight laid erupted as an ear-splitting explosion shook the air around them. Flames licked the earth and the aftershock from the explosion was so powerful that it knocked some of the ancient warriors off their feet. Everyone present felt firsthand its immense power, as their organs shifted around within their bodies. Qin Feng, however, did not even have a single scratch on his body. As his fire beam attack sent the Emperor Knight flying backwards, the distance between him and the explosion was the largest. Without waiting for the dust to settle, Qin Feng rushed into the flames with fire runes floating around his body, forming a barrier against the extreme temperature of his surroundings. The Emperor Knight laid motionless at ground zero of the explosion. What was surprising was that despite the immense explosion, he was not completely vaporized as one normally would be. Though, its armor had now been twisted into an almost unrecognizable form and its skull had been detached from the torso. It was safe to say that the guy was as good as dead. Qin Feng bent over and picked up the helmet, not forgetting to pour out what remained of the Emperor Knight's head. Thud. A bare skull with the same density as a metal plopped out of the helmet onto the ground. However, that was not the end of it. Through its eye sockets, there appeared to be a fist-sized, crimson-colored energy core. An F8 tier king core. This thing could be worth up to billions if it were put up for auction in Wanzhong. Honey, I want it, I want it. Bai Li jumped out from the dark, wrapping herself around Qin Feng. Her eyes were staring intently at the energy core. Hearing Bai Li's voice, he could feel a chill running up his spine as feelings of guilt surged from within. Go ahead. Qin Feng, who had a soft spot for Bai Li, gave up the energy core without protest nor second thoughts. Carefully, she tucked the precious gift away before she did with the Emperor Knight's body and belongings. Cough cough. Bastard, Qin Feng, where the hell's the Emperor Knight? As the dust gradually settled, Lu Ba and his men came running over. Bai Li once again disappeared into the darkness before they had the chance to see her, leaving only Qin Feng to deal with the situation. Been turned into ashes, I reckon, Qin Feng shrugged. Since there was nothing left behind as proof of its death, these people could flip Zimu Mountains over and still find no trace of the Emperor Knight. You're terrible at lying. You've probably hidden the Emperor Knight somewhere. Where's the spatial runic equipment you brought with you? Let me set things straight, the Emperor Knight's death was our collective effort. You've got no right to have things all to yourself. Qin Feng chuckled at the statement. Without you guys, I'd still be able to kill it. With you guys around, there's nothing for me to gain since you'd all be fighting over the loot. Arrogance leads to nowhere, Qin Feng. Little bastard, you're asking for it. The other two ancient warriors, too, entered into the fray. Chapter 99. He who strikes first prevails. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 99. He who strikes first prevails. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Han Jian was quite obviously on Qin Feng's side. What's the matter? Has the time come to take credit for the kill? It's not like you guys actually took him out, is it? Even if we were to get our share of the reward, there'd only be 10 million for us each. You know what, how about I just pay you that measly amount to keep your mouths shut? While Han Jian was expressly talking about money, it was a roundabout statement of how incompetent yet greedy these people were. Han Jian, don't you forget that you are also one of those who joined the attack on the Emperor Knight. Lu Ba yelled out in an attempt to point out the hypocrisy of Han Jian's statement. So what of it? This whole thing involving the Emperor Knight was just something that I stumbled onto back when I was in Qingbei Colony. Out of the 5 people at the scene, only Qin Feng and Han Jian were from Qingbei Colony. The other three were from separate regions, so going by the majority, it became apparent to whom most credit was due. It was at this moment that Qin Feng interrupted with a laugh. If I were you guys, I wouldn't be frolicking around here for too long. Have you forgotten the fact that the dark-robed Ripper is still out there, waiting to strike? Qin Feng's words struck them like lightning. This is bad. Back there, Lin Jing alone faced the dark-robed Ripper, and none of them were willing to redirect their forces to aid his battle, the reason being that the Emperor Knight was showing signs of weakness. No one wanted to give up on the battle just yet. Who would have thought that the credit of bringing down the Emperor Knight would be snatched away by Qin Feng? Now, they were left to face the dark-robed Ripper, who was the main entity supporting this spatial passage as well as where the most important task lay as of now. What remained of the group hurried back where they came from. Unknown to them though, the situation involving the dark-robed Ripper was not as good as they had expected. The dark-robed Ripper possessed dark abilities which allowed it to escape from the grasp of its enemies much easier than the Emperor Knight. Not to mention the fact that King-tier beings had intelligence on par with humans, upon breaking away from Qin Feng's attacks, the dark-robed Ripper had gone on to amass an army of zombies. Hidden amidst the formation of its corpse soldiers, it was practically impossible to be able to discern which was which. Lin Zhang's expression darkened. He had predicted that the scene would turn multitudes uglier, especially after Qin Feng had defeated the Emperor Knight. Even the ability users who hurried over were visibly hesitant in their every action. Apart from Deng Nian, there was an E-tier Earth ability user as well as a Fire ability user of the same tier. All three of them stood by to observe the situation for a while, and only after confirming that things were stable did they start moving forward. After all, ability users were extremely precious assets on the battlefield, and to lose even one was too much a price to pay. While these users possessed extremely strong powers, fighting detached without any support was the last thing they would want. It seems that our chances of finding that dark-robed Ripper is pretty much nil now. Now that there are so many zombies on the mountain's peak, the gunners should just carpet bomb the area to thin out the herd, or at least take some burden off our hands. Even if we do not find it, orders are orders. The Emperor Knight's dead now, and there's no guarantee that the Ripper won't bring out some overpowered monster from a new spatial passage or whatever the hell it has up its sleeve. Agreed. Victory or defeat now hinged upon their actions, and no one was willing to give up just yet. Without delay, they each started relaying information to the gunners. However, the people on the receiving side of the information were left speechless. Cough cough, Qin Feng. Deng Nian opened up first, calling out to Qin Feng. Principal. Qin Feng replied as he walked up to the person calling out to him. Do you need me to cover your retreat? Deng Nian was no young chap fighting on the front lines. Detached from the main fighting force without backup was just too risky for a man his age. No, I'm not calling out to you for that. Qin Feng, have you locked down the gunners on the battlefield using your consciousness? We've decided to wipe out everything that moves on top of the Mother Mountain, and they're hoping that you can withdraw your consciousness. While speaking to Qin Feng, Deng Nian looked up and down his body as if to appraise him. The old man felt impressed by how Qin Feng turned out to be a fine young man. Still, he could not help but feel that he had grown just that little bit older and weaker. Whatever talents that resided within Qin Feng was truly too strong for him to comprehend. He did not expect that Qin Feng was able to suppress E-tier gunners using his consciousness alone. And while that was happening, Qin Feng had been continuously engaged in different battles but still came out on top. His strength was truly something to be reckoned with. I just need them to be more careful with their aim. Tell those trigger.happy freaks to aim their shots away from me, else I'd get back at them once I return. Qin Feng remarked thornily. In fact, they too were actually planning as Qin Feng had said. If it were not for the restraints exerted over the gunners by Qin Feng's consciousness, they would be the ones firing the last shot, not him. While their combat capability was not something to call home about, these gunners could be pretty capable when it came to stealing credit. Alright, I'll let them know. Right, before I forget, remember the incident where you injured Lu Heng in a scuffle. Please don't ruminate over that matter anymore. Humph, he pales in comparison with others, so pay no heed to that man. Deng Yan replied. Lu Heng was the gunner that Qin Feng and Lu Ba jointly faced off against when he just arrived here for the first time as a newbie. He was also the same person who, not long ago, shot at Qin Feng behind his back, which earned him 3 shells in retaliation, fired by none other than Qin Feng himself. However, gunners were pretty well known to be money bags, so he must have had some kind of runic equipment on hand shielding him against most harm lobbed at him, hence that was why Qin Feng presumed him to still be alive and kicking. Yeah, ruminating over pointless things isn't something I'd do very often, Qin Feng said as he nodded. Right after that, the team made a swift retreat back to the base of the mother mountain, where upon arriving, the continuous sound of gunfire echoed through the skies as hell itself rained down upon the mountain. In mere seconds, large swathes of the corpse core were reduced to smithereens. The final cannon shot shook the ground a full half-hour later, which marked the start of their offensive stance. On the ground, everyone, whether ancient warriors or ability users, started rushing up toward the peak of Zimu Mountains, for they knew that the dark-robed Ripper had no chance of escaping now. Whoever that first grabbed hold of the enemy would be the one to control the entire place. Deng Yan was the first to attack. Light up. Activating the runic ability, a ball of light expanded rapidly. Under the blinding ray of light, the surface of the summit looked as white as a sheet of paper, and there was not an inch of the place that was covered by darkness. Deng Yan instantly charged toward a specific direction where the dark runes were the most concentrated, which was likely going to be where the dark-robed Ripper was hiding. The people formed into a moving wall that trailed closely behind Deng Yan. One simply could not deny the fact that Deng Yan was quite a capable man, being able to locate where the cowardly dark-robed Ripper was taking refuge. Qin Feng walked right beside Deng Yan, scanning the E.tier aptitude users around him vigilantly. He began to take note of which one whose powers he should absorb should he fall onto the ground dead later on. As they say, one man's corpse is another man's treasure. The group of people who were completely oblivious as to the fact that they were being noted down, pretended to follow nonchalantly behind Deng Yan. Hee, Xiao Bai, time for you to go. Qin Feng thought in his mind. Xiao Bai, who had forged a contract with Qin Feng, immediately started moving. While these people were imagining themselves as a praying mantis waiting to strike at the cicada, Qin Feng intended to show them just what the phrase, "he who strikes first prevails," meant. Bai Li's spatial manipulation skill allowed her to move about undetected, like a phantom who was out for blood. After taking in the Beast King energy core Qin Feng had given her recently, her abilities had now grown to the level of an F2-tier Beast King, meaning her class was not too far off from the dark-robed Ripper. The most important factor, however, was that an unending series of battles had finally taken the toll on the dark-robed Ripper, who now was inflicted with heavy injuries. Bai Li stealthily materialized behind the dark-robed Ripper's back. Space Blade. A silver ray glimmered, with a pure black crack down its very center. Whatever that came into contact with this crack would be rendered into nothingness. The blade which Bai Li flung landed precisely right on top of the dark-robed Ripper's skull. Crack. The head of the dark-robed Ripper, who was originally planning a nasty ambush against the humans, had now caved into itself, and in the next moment, it came tumbling down onto the ground. Bai Li raised her hand to catch the pitch-black ability core before disappearing into thin air again. Right after this happened, the group of humans walked over, and avoiding the large fallen tree, they could finally make out the dark-robed Ripper's silhouette. With just a few strides, Qin Feng made his way over under the pretense of checking out the situation. The truth was that he wanted to quickly absorb as much consciousness lingering in the air as possible. It did not take too long for the effects to set in. Qin Feng could feel his own mind ringing, a sign of his consciousness growing in strength. Ability level F3. Tier. Chapter 100. Funly Colony. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 100. Funly Colony Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, F***CK, it's already dead. Don't tell me it's 'cause of a lucky shot some gunner fired. No, that ain't right. Look, its throat's been slit by someone. Its ability core's gone too. Whose doing is this? What a goddamn waste of effort coming here. All of a sudden, the group of people was getting more and more furious by the moment. Still, no one directed their suspicion at Qin Feng. After all, he was right under their watchful eyes the entire time, up until they discovered the slain dark-robed Ripper. However, the way in which this dark-robed Ripper died had now turned this entire situation into an unsolvable mystery. The people here, who had prepared themselves for a brawl to the death, started walking away in disappointment and frustration. However, this still came as great news for regular aptitude users. After all, the Corpse Corps' two strongest leaders had now been taken down. With no other creatures able to open up new spatial passages, this place was now secure once and for all. This meant that the soldiers conscripted against their will could now return to their homes. While the crisis was resolved, there were still the names of a handful that must be remembered. One of these names was none other than Qin Feng himself. Qin Feng, alongside many other F.tier aptitude users, remained in combat, encircling and finishing off what remained of the Corpse Corps. On the second day, the space-stabilizing device dispatched from Qingyang had finally arrived. At this moment, words alone were insufficient to describe how precious this item was. The device was launched up into the sky to an altitude of roughly 200 meters. Viewing from the ground, it looked just like a satellite, only many times larger. In the future, this place would be developed into yet another human colony. Meanwhile, on one of the slopes of Zimu Mountains, Qin Feng, with Bai Li tagging along, was meeting up with two other people. Mayor Zheng. Qin Feng greeted the man before him. The mayor was a large man, standing at a height of roughly 6 feet and 3 inches that was packed full of muscle. With eyes livelier than ever, it was no wonder that his ability had reached E4 tier. This was a man who was in his prime. However, he still had room to progress for the years to come. The mayor, the head honcho of both the colonies of Chenyang as well as Qingbei. Qin Feng, I see you've become quite the hero, young man. Zheng Yang complimented him as he shook hands with Qin Feng. I'm flattered, Mayor Zheng L.C. Qin Feng chuckled. All while this was happening, Xue Xingfu, who was standing beside Qin Feng, could not help but let out a great sigh. Old boy, you've been pretty quiet lately, but who would have thought, the entire ruckus was your doing. In the siege against the Emperor Knight as well as the dark-robed Ripper, regardless of the disputes which the people had about it, the truth of the matter presented itself in the end results, and that alone was indisputable. It was Qin Feng, who struck the dark-robed Ripper first, inflicting heavy wounds before the main force arrived only to find it lying on the ground, its throat slit. Still, no one came out to claim the reward, so there was no doubt that Qin Feng deserved most credit as a whole. In regards to the Emperor Knight, as Qin Feng was the one who dealt the final blow, while there was inevitably going to be suspicion about him stealing the kill, the same could be said for the initial attackers from before. Qin Feng was only giving these people a taste of their own medicine for treating him with unfairness. The most unexpected thing to occur was that the mayor of Qingyang kept his word by ceding the responsibility of overlooking the newly established colony over to Qin Feng. This was the only reason why Zheng Yang deliberately came over today, to launch the space-stabilizing device into orbit as well as to seek cooperation from Qin Feng. I don't think I'll have the time to manage the colony. I can, however, be the honorary person in charge, just like the honorary captain of the previous garrison troop. I must admit that I feel a sense of guilt hearing you say this, but I understand where you're coming from. After all, a young man shouldn't be tied down to a place like this. However, about the person in charge matter, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Zheng Yang said. Qin Feng smiled as he glanced at Xue Xingfu, patiently standing beside Jing Yang. Big bro Xue's one of the closest buddies of mine. Why not just let him take the job? Qin Feng said excitedly. Alright. Well then, you'll be shouldering the responsibility of being the man in charge of this place from today onward. Jing Yang said as he nodded. Xue Xingfu was visibly excited at the unexpected proposition. It never crossed his mind that Qin Feng would pick his name out of everyone else's, and without any hesitation at that. Have you got a name in mind for this colony? Jing Yang questioned. Well, I haven't given too much thought about that to be honest. Qin Feng refrained from rashly proposing any names for now. How about calling it Beifeng Colony? It carries part of your name after all, so how about that? Xue Xingfu suggested. Qin Feng chuckled forcibly at the proposition as he looked over at Xue Xingfu. Well, this isn't really the northernmost part of Qingyang, is it? Deep down, Qin Feng sensed that Xue Xingfu's previous statement was an expression of loyalty to Xinjiang. With Qin Feng's influence, Xue Xingfu would soon be in charge of all matters pertaining to this new colony. However, for the moment, he was still an underling of Xinjiang's. But if the colony were to expand, which was a very likely outcome, there was no guarantee that this status quo between their relationship could be maintained. If the colony were to be named Beifeng, the addition of the word Bei would be equivalent to subjecting the place under the jurisdiction of the Qingbei colony. What's more is that the name sounds like the bitter cold winter winds, blowing down from the north. Not a particularly good meaning. Xue Xingfu laughed awkwardly then remained silent. Jing Yang broke the silence with a hearty laugh. It might not be appropriate to say this but, old boy, you're still the man in charge, I want to hear what's on your mind. Qin Feng looked over at Bai Li beside him and suddenly, a name floated conveniently into his mind. Let's call it, Fengli Colony. Feng as in wind and Li as in the break of dawn. In reality, this was just the homonym of Qin Feng and Bai Li's names but with a twist in its meanings. Was this not better? Fengli Colony, huh? Sounds pretty good, let's call it that then. Jing Yang nodded in agreement. Oh right, Qin Feng, about your encirclement of the Corpse Corps, as well as the establishment of the new Fengli Colony, we will be making a propaganda about it so I hope you don't mind that I'll be using some of the clips taken of you wiping out the zombie soldiers. Oh, of course, by all means go ahead. Old boy, you're going to be a hero of the masses now. Xue Xingfu smiled at Qin Feng. Scenarios such as this were not entirely unheard of. Every time humans survive through an existential threat and come out victorious, they would always be making propaganda videos, dances, and even films to further amplify their success. Only through such measures could the ideology of those in the colonies be altered, they would be taught the glory of slaying ultra beasts and undead zombies. So was Qin Feng going to be one of their propaganda pieces? He had already become a leader of a colony after all. Still, was such an incident enough to inspire the hearts of the masses? Soon after, the three went into discussion of how the reward was going to be distributed. To put it simply, Qin Feng now had the rights to develop the colony whilst Jing Yang had the rights to investment. On the other hand, Xue Xingfu was handed the right to safeguard the colony. The final distribution of quantifiable rewards was set at 30% for Qin Feng, 45% for Zheng Yang and 10% for Xue Xingfu while the remaining 15% would remain liquid, to be further distributed to other newly established senior executives. The proportion of these benefits would inevitably change with the development of the colony and would be rearranged on a bi-annually basis. Qin Feng did not put too much importance on the rewards as a lot could happen within the span of 6 months. He could foresee so much change that these two in front of him could be left speechless the next time they met. He did not particularly care about the existence of this colony. However, because of the butterfly effect that resulted from him taking the Hell Stone, he could not help but feel a sense of obligation toward this entire matter. He must shoulder some responsibility on his part, somehow. One day, he would march forth into the unknown plane and completely eradicate the bogeyman to restore peace on this land once and for all. Volume 1 ends.